Hey guys, this is Chris here, and I've been testing out Fiido's D11. It's a foldable e-bike that has a lot of improvements compared to the Fiidos that I have reviewed before in the channel. Foldable means, yes, the frame is normally quite heavy, but not the case here with the D11. They've managed to really lower down that weight. So it is 12.9 kilos. I really do like the more modern looking design of this particular frame. And we have a removable battery bank. So that's one of the big things a lot of people wanted. Hey, we want the batteries not in the frame of the bike, but actually removable. So they've incorporated it into the seat post, 11.6 amp hour battery that is capable of up to 100 kilometers range on the lowest setting. That's a claim, of course, that I will test out in this video. I'll do some range tests. I'll let you know just how this bike rides. I'll go over the design in detail. The D11 comes in a very large box, as you'd expect. It's got a lot of padding around it, and it doesn't ship folded. It's actually in its normal state. Now we have the seat post and the seat separated, a lot of padding around it. We have the pedals we need to install. Mud guards are included. They're optional, but I do recommend putting on these mud guards. If you live in a wet climate, you're going to want them. Otherwise, you're going to have water all up your pants and legs and everywhere. Chargers in the box, a few tools as well to assemble it, but very light assembly. Now, charge time on the battery, very slow. It's about 6 to 8 hours, so it's definitely a charge overnight job. Fiido has done a great job of the frame on this one. I like how it's slimmer than most e-bikes. It almost looks like it's not even a foldable bike. You can see they've got really high quality welds. And opening it up, very easy. There's a security latch there, and you simply undo that, pull it out, and you can push the bike around. The handlebars, they also pop down as well, and then you can fold it into its folded state to transport around or put in the boot of a car or just to store it away. So the forks have a very good design. I like the way they've shaped this. It is really strong, but we are lacking here front suspension, which would have been nice just to soak up some of those bumps. Now the tires we have on this and the wheels, they are 20-inch. Road tires, of course, that they have on them, and I highly recommend you do put an anti-puncture solution in there, something like slime, especially with the roads I have around here. I pick up a lot of screws, nails, and all sorts of things. So we do have a light on the front here. It's relatively bright, and it's good enough to see where you're going in front of you. It's not super powerful, so if you need additional lighting, of course, you can put that and mount it onto the handlebars or a flashing light, but at least it is built in with this particular electric bike. So we do have disc brakes, as you can clearly see. These ones are 160 millimeters in diameter. They're mechanical disc brakes. Ideally, hydraulic pistons would have been better. And being the cable disc brakes, you do need to adjust them, especially after a few weeks of use, because it tends to stretch out a little bit the cable. So I recommend you just give them a tweak and a bit of adjustment to your own preference there. Now the width of these tires, these ones here are 1.75 inches, the width of the 20-inch tires. The rear disc brake is also 160 millimeters. We have 7 gears with this one. The motor, the hub, is 250 watts. It is 36 volts. And a large front crank as well on this too, giving me enough power to get up those hills with, of course, the assistance that I get from the 250 watt motor. So the seat is quite comfortable. It's not super padded, but it does have a good centimeter or two of padding, you can see as I press down. Now our battery pack is in the actual seat post, and this is one of the best features of this particular bike here, is that we can remove the battery pack, you can take it upstairs and charge it, and to turn it on is a simple plug here on the back. Now when you do so, there's a blue light around it, and it does have a rear light right here that's going to be always on when the bike is on. So you have to actually remember to turn this off, to tap it and press, and you can see it powers off slowly. Now you have this cable that's really well designed. You simply need to just twist this a little bit and it pops right out. Very simple to do. And then when you plug it in, it automatically clips itself into place with a secure click. And that, of course, delivers the power to the motor and to the controller. Now looking at our controls here, so this is the controller for it. You simply hold the power button right here, it powers on. Now this is very basic. It gives us our battery broken up into 4 different bars here, so 25% each one. We have our 3 different assist modes, so level 1, level 2, and level 3 being the maximum. There is an odometer as well, so if you hold down on the mode button, it'll tell me now that I've done 9 kilometers, and this is our speed reading right here. It's a little hard to make out on camera, but you can actually see it in direct sunlight just fine. We have our light on and off here. This is the horn, which is very loud, as you can hear from that. And our grips, they don't move about at all. And right here is the rear brake. On the right side, we have the front brake right here and our gear selector, and this is the accelerator. So I wish it was actually a twist style grip one instead of this trigger. Now the build quality of the plastics right here doesn't seem to be super high quality, and hopefully you can make out that the trigger is almost touching, in fact it is touching the gear selector there a little bit, but of course I can actually adjust and move this, which I'm probably going to have to do to avoid that. So overall, the grip here as well is just like the other side, very tight. Overall, reasonably good quality throughout the bike, especially the frame, really good build. It's just the plastics here is my very minor complaint. I just think they could have gone with slightly higher quality plastics. So where is the charging port? Well, it's right here. It's got a dust cap over it. This is to help keep the water out as well. The bike does come with a kickstand. It's a very sturdy one, and it's going to be able to support the weight of this bike, and it will not tip over either in the time I've been using this kickstand. So to start out on this bike, you can just push off like a normal bike, or you can actually use the trigger and get it to accelerate for you. So it's still showing that I have about 100 to 75% battery. It's starting to drop down now, and I have done 12 kilometers. Very smooth riding, apart from any little potholes, of course, or big cracks in the road. You have to watch out for those because we do not have any suspension. So I'm about to make it right down to the end of the coast here, and then I'll cycle back home, of course. So far it has been comfortable. Now ergonomics, as mentioned before, that I'm finding it alright. It's actually not too bad at all. My knees are not too close to the handlebars or the gear selector. So I made it to the coast and it's gone really well. Very comfortable ride, apart from the bumps, of course, lacking suspension that I mentioned in the video. That would be really nice if it at least had a front fork on it. But it's really made for good roads, good surfaces, which around here they aren't really that great. So I've lost approximately, I would say, a guess here, about 15% battery for 13 kilometers, which is not too bad considering I'm using the assist level 3. What I'm going to do now is test the hill climbing. I'm going to go up quite a steep hill right to the end, and we'll see how the D11 handles that. So here we go, very easy actually so far on the assist mode level 3. It just seems effortless. Not hard at all. I've got to put a little bit of power into that, into the pedaling. Starting to notice it now because we're getting quite a bit steeper here. But overall, compared to a normal bike, this is really so easy to ride up and do these climbs. But it's going to get a little bit rocky ahead, and this really isn't the bike for it. Like I'm starting to have to dig a little bit deeper now, push a little harder, just to get up to the very end. So that wasn't really that bad. I had to put a bit of effort into the climb, but if you've got really steep hills around you, it's going to be so much easier than just a normal manual bike. Now, of course, you can use it if you want to use it to exercise, on any assistance. Simply do not plug the battery in, or just do not push the button in to turn it on, and then it is a normal bike. That's it, just don't power it on. So if you're wondering, where am I filming here? This is one of the most beautiful spots in Denia, Mediterranean coast of Spain, Alicante. It's a place called Las Rodas, and I'm at the very end. Beautiful coast along here. So a bit of a bumpy descent. What about the brakes? Are they good? They are, I would rate, as average because they are mechanical. They at least are disc brakes, but they just don't have that braking force and pressure that you get from a hydraulic caliper. So I would have preferred hydraulic brakes. Would have been nicer on this bike, but of course push that cost up. You're still able to also lock the rear wheel if you wanted to do that. You've got enough braking pressure there. Okay, so my trip I have done now 22 kilometers. I started out with 0 on the odometer here, and in that 22 kilometers, I have lost 25% battery. Now I was running mode 3, which is the maximum assist and the maximum power consumption. So there we go. So what are my thoughts on this bike now after riding around, spending a day riding on it? I think it is quite good. The foldability, the weight of it, only 13 kilos. It's a lot lighter than some of the other e-bikes out there. It's similar to the other Fiido I reviewed, but of course this one has the removable battery that a lot of people want. If you lock up your bike and you leave it, for example, down in the lobby of an apartment or in the entrance or just downstairs, you don't want to have to take it upstairs, but you still need to charge it, but there's no power point or it's in a shed, then of course you pull that battery out, you take it where you need to go to charge it. You can take it into work and charge it as well. Now if you're just going to be using straight out battery mode, not pedaling at all, you can do that. The speed limit is 25 kilometers per hour. That's a limit that they set by law, but but you can actually override that. I won't show you how to do that in this video, but just simply Google Fiido eBike remove the speed limit, and you can do it. It's very simple with the controller. You simply just set it up, go through a couple of combinations, and then it will just boost you up to about, I think it's about 36 or something kilometers maximum. Now, when you're going up a hill, you can pedal, of course, it's going to give you that assistance, but you can also pull the trigger. You can use the accelerator to help boost you up those hills as well. That's another thing you can do. Brakes on it seem to be pretty good. I mean, for disc brakes, they're average because they're mechanical ones. They don't have a hydraulic caliper in there, which would be a lot better, giving us much more braking in terms of braking pressure on those discs. So that's one thing to bear in mind there. Now, when you first get it, I highly recommend you go around and tighten everything up. Take a look at the brakes as well, because often you'll have one of the pads is rubbing up a little bit on that disc, and that's going to cause a little bit of friction and means the bike just won't roll as good as it would without having that friction from the brake. Overall, the build quality is excellent. The frame of it, they've done a really good job, Fiido, the quality of that. My complaints are the controls. I think that the trigger, at least for the accelerator, and the build quality of those plastics is not of a super high quality. That of a e-bike that is going to cost you 850 euros. Yes, it's expensive. Now, the foldability is something that a lot of people want. So the handlebars come down, it folds in half, of course. And the bike itself then is so much more compact than having a standard kind of e-bike, those ones that don't fold. So you pay for that extra. You pay for the removable battery. You pay for the foldability. If you don't need it to fold, you don't need a removable battery, and get yourself a cheaper version of Fiido's bikes. And if you need the suspension, which is another area of criticism from me, no suspension on it whatsoever can mean the ride's a little bit bumpy depending on your roads, then go for one of their other bikes that are a little bit cheaper there. But all up, just like the Fiido, I think it's the D4S that I reviewed before in the channel, very good bikes. And the range of the battery is going to be very dependent on your roads, of course, your weight. But I can see, I think, around 60 kilometers on the number 3 assist or number 2 assist mode, and even further on number 1. So up to the 100 kilometers, I doubt that. I really do. I think it's probably more like going to be about 70 kilometers maximum. It is still very good, the range you can get out of the D11 here. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back in the channel with more up and coming reviews, maybe a few more e-bikes. I will have a scooter later on in the channel as well.